The triangle below has a base of 2x minus 6 units and an altitude of x plus 2 units. And here we have this triangle. Write down an expression that represents the area of this triangle. Now, area of a triangle in general is equal to base times height divided by 2. Here, the base is 2x minus 6. That's the base. And we have to multiply that by x plus 2. And so that means that an expression representing the area of this triangle is going to be 2x minus 6, right? This multiplied by the base, which is, the base, which is 2x minus 6, multiplied by the height, which is x plus 2, and we put that over 2. And that's an expression, right, that represents the area of this triangle. Next, it says, show that this expression simplifies to x squared minus x minus 6. And so we have this expression for the area, which is the base, which is 2x minus 6 multiplied by the height, which is x plus 2, all over 2. And we have to take that expression and we have to simplify it and show that it simplifies to x squared minus x minus 6. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply. So we say, okay, well, 2 times x, right? 2 times x is going to, we say 2x times x, and 2x times x is what? 2x squared. Next, we say 2x times 2, and 2x times 2 is 4x, all right? Next, we say negative 6 times x, and negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Then we have negative 6 times 2, and negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. And we put that over 2, all right? And so we have 2x squared plus 4x minus 6x minus 12. And so what do? We say 4x minus 6x, and 4x minus 6x is negative 2x. And so we have 2x squared minus 2x minus 12 all over 2. And so we still have some more to simplify. What we have to do is we say, okay, well, we're going to take each term. Okay, so let me just show the step, okay? I think this, before I even get to this, let me just show the step. I think the step is important. So we say 2, okay, so let me write it properly. Erase. So just to show you what exactly happened. So it's going to be equal to 2x, right? 2x squared all over 2, right? Minus 2x over 2 minus 12 over 2. Okay, so let me move this here. And so we say, well, 2x squared over 2 minus 2x over 2 minus 12 over 2. We can cancel this x with this x, and that leaves us with x squared, right? X squared. And we can cancel this x with that x, and that leaves us with what? Simply x, right? And we say 12 divided by 2, and 12 divided by 2 is definitely 6. And so that means that the expression for the area is going to be x squared minus x minus 6. And that's exactly what we have here. Okay, next. It says the area of the triangle is 50 square units. Use this information to calculate values for x. And so what do we know? We know that the area of this triangle can be expressed using the expression x squared minus x minus 6. And we know that the numerical answer for the area is 50. So we set this algebraic representation of the area equal to the numerical value for the area. So we set the algebraic representation of the area equal to the numerical value of the area, because these two must be equal, all right? And so what we have here is we're going to take 50 and send it over the equal sign. And when we take 50 and send it over the equal sign, it was a positive 50, but it becomes a negative 50. And so we have that x squared minus x minus 6 minus 50 is equal to 0. And so we have negative 6 minus 50, and negative 6 minus 50 is negative 56. And so we have x squared minus x minus 56 is equal to 0. And so what do? We're going to apply the quadratic formula. Now, the quadratic formula tells us that for a general equation for a quadratic equation, for the general form of a quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, the solution to the quadratic equation is going to be equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And so what we have to determine? We have to determine what a is, what b is, and what c is. And so if we look carefully, right, if we look carefully, a is the number in front of x squared. And so the number in front of x squared here is 1. So that means that 1 is x squared. So that's why we have, we have that 1 is equal to a, because 1 is the number or the coefficient in front of x squared. So 1 is equal to a. Next, we have b, right? b is the number that is the coefficient of x. And so we have here negative 1. So negative 1 is the coefficient of x, and negative 1 is b, all right? And then we have c, and c is the number, c is this number, this constant by itself. So c is going to be equal to negative 56, all right? So c is equal to negative 56. And so we have that a is equal to 1, right? b is equal to negative 1, and c is equal to negative 56, all right? And so we have what a is, what b is, and what c is, and we can use that to substitute in the formula and figure what the value of x is. Okay, so let's move ahead and do that. We know that the quadratic formula is given by this formula, and the formula says that x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of, okay, let's put it here. So x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, in this case, we have to substitute. What are we going to substitute? Well, we know that b is equal to what? B is equal to negative 1. What do we know about c? Well, c is equal to negative 56. And so we're going to substitute those values. Again, b is equal to negative 1, c is equal to negative 56, and a is equal to 1. So let's substitute those values in. B is negative 1. So wherever we see b, we're going to put negative 1. So b is negative 1. A is positive 1. So we're going to take this a and we're going to put positive 1 here. And we have a here. So we're going to put positive 1. And so what we're going to do here, what do we have? We have a negative 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 1 squared minus 4 times 1 multiplied by negative 56 all over 2 times 1. And so what we're going to do is we're going to figure what is this expression in the bottom inside of this. What is this expression underneath the square root equals to? So you have 1 squared minus 4 times 1 multiplied by negative 56. And that gives us 225. So we have that x is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 225 all over 2. And so what we do is we going to figure out what is x positive. And x positive just basically means that the sign in between these two terms is going to be positive. And so what is the square root of 225? Well, the square root of 225 is definitely 15. And so we have a 1 plus 15 all over 2. What is a 1 plus 15? Well, 1 plus 15 is 16. So we have 16 divided by 2. And what is 16 divided by 2? Well, 16 divided by 2 is definitely 8. And so we have that x positive is equal to 8. But what about x negative? X negative basically means that we need to take this negative sign and we have to put it in between these two numbers. That's what x negative means. So we put the negative sign here. And so what is the square root of 225? Well, the square root of 225 is still 15. So we have the square root of 225 is equal to 15. And so we have 1 minus 15 all over 2. What is 1 minus 15? 1 minus 15 is equal to negative 14. And so we have a negative 14 divided by 2. And negative 14 divided by 2 is definitely negative 7. So x negative is equal to negative 7, and x positive is equal to 8. Now, but what is the answer? Is it 8? Is it negative 7? Is it both of them? Well, we have to ignore the negative result for x. Why? This is because the length of a triangle cannot be negative. And so here, since we're looking for the length of a triangle, right? Since x is part of, right? We have to ignore the negative result for x because we're dealing with a triangle, and a triangle cannot have negative sides. All right. And if we use like, let's say we substitute x is equal to negative 7 into this equation, it'll be negative 7 plus 2. And negative 7 plus 2 is a negative result. And this length cannot be negative. It has to be positive. And so we have to ignore the negative result. But we could use the positive result. And so 8 is equal to x, or x is equal to 8. Now, the next question says, the area of a triangle is 50 square units. We already know that. D, hence determine the altitude of the above triangle. So based on what we figured out in our previous question that x is equal to 8, they're telling us, okay, figure out what is the altitude. Now, what is the altitude? The altitude is x plus 2. But what is x? Well, x is 8, and so it's going to be 8 plus 2. And so that means that the altitude is going to be 8 plus 2, which is 10. All right, so it's going to be 10 units. And that's the answer to this particular question.